They were hunting the Taliban in Afghanistan. Coalition troops raided thousands of homes. Tonight, the SAS death squads that arrived in the night. We reveal secret killings by British Special Forces.
It's clearly an orchestrated campaign of murders.
People shot dead after surrendering.
Too many people were being killed on night raids, and the explanations didn't make sense. It was clear at the time. Something was wrong.
Evidence of executions.
These are the bullet holes.
And cover-ups by the men in charge.
I think allegations of the kind that you're making are incredibly shocking, and if they are true, then they would make me deeply sad and also deeply angry.
Special Forces are on a raid in Afghanistan.
Lie down!
They're Australian, part of an international coalition fighting the Taliban. Their dog, Quake, has attacked a man. The unarmed man is then shot.
Quake, no! Quake, stop! Quake! Please!
They've executed an unarmed man. The patrol just moves on.
No. Heel.
Special Forces.
It was almost as if it was nothing. It was just like, all right, yep. One person dead, move on.
It was nothing, it meant nothing.
Yeah, it meant nothing.
Did you get the impression that they were above the law?
I think I started to notice it more, that was the general attitude that, like, you're untouchable, there's going to be no accountability. I don't think that people should be going forward thinking that everything we did there was above board and honourable and it was one big success. Because it's certainly not what happened.
We've got hours of headcam footage from the Australian Special Forces. It gives a rare glimpse into the top secret world of Special Forces operations. And how these units were behaving.
The more you hear it, the more you realise that these are sort of well-practiced, almost become standardised ways of killing. I think they became really good at doing this, at getting away with it. They would have numbers that they wanted to reach for that day of people that they wanted to kill. So there was this lust for killing.
Some detainees were allegedly shot by Australian troops after being restrained. If that's true, that's a war crime.
He just motioned with his weapon, and then he eventually pulled the trigger and killed the man, who was, yes, a confirmed target. He was handcuffed, so clearly no threat.
That's just a straightforward execution though, is it? Because this was a bound man.
Yeah.
Taken a few metres away and then shot.
Yeah.
What was that like to see that? I mean, how did you feel when you saw that?
Oh, in my head I just thought, it's an execution.
Rosa! Fuck's sake! Yeah, get the fuck here.
An Australian military inquiry concluded there was credible evidence that its special forces were responsible for the murder of 39 civilians and prisoners of war. For Australians, it was a national scandal.
These findings allege the most serious breaches of military conduct and professional values. Credible information regarding deeply disturbing allegations.
It matters to us because the Australians worked closely with UK and American special forces. And we've been told the British SAS committed the same type of war crimes as the Australians. The British did what they did.
One soldier, I was asking him, why did this happen? How could it have just been allowed to happen? And one thing he'd said to me was that what the Australians were doing was nothing compared to what the UK and the US were doing.
The UK Ministry of Defence says no British service personnel were persons of interest for the Australian inquiry. So, almost a year since coalition troops left Afghanistan, what's the truth? This is where UK forces were based, Helmand in southern Afghanistan. We're heading to places where no British investigators have been. The last time I came to Afghanistan 3 years ago, the Taliban attacked our hotel. Now, the Taliban are in charge. We're travelling through their heartland. We've been given a Taliban minder. He and his AK-47 rifle are in the car in front. But we decide where we go and who we speak to find out what happened in these remote farms and villages. This was a dangerous place for British troops. 455 lost their lives in Afghanistan. Many killed by roadside bombs.
I think there's no doubt that most British soldiers behave risk, rigour, hardship, danger, fear. The vast majority, insofar as I'm aware, performed against a really challenging mission with great distinction and enormous courage.
To stop the roadside bombs, the SAS went after the people behind the attacks. The raids were mostly at night. What we have found suggests a pattern of deliberate killings. We've spoken to eyewitnesses who were on some of these night raids now. They don't want to be identified, but they say they saw unarmed Afghans being shot dead by British Special Forces. Our British military sources won't go on camera, but we have eyewitness testimony about executions.
A battlefield execution is both a monstrosity and an atrocity at any point, regardless of the unit.
A lot of our viewers might think that was a horrible, messy war, so we should let it go now. We're calling them war crimes, but that's just what happens in a war. Is there something to that?
I understand that sentiment, and I've heard it before. I don't happen to agree with it. You can't have it both ways. You are on operations in Afghanistan seeking to do the right thing. Well, then you need to do the right thing. And breaking the law, committing battlefield atrocities, committing war crimes is not doing the right thing. And in my view, there can be no excuse for it.
We're going to show you the reality of those killings by following one Special Forces unit on one 6-month tour. It's an SAS squadron of around 60 men. We've got hold of the squadron's own official accounts, so we can see what they say happened on the raids in their own words. The first suspicious death we're investigating was in central Helmand. It's late at night on the 29th of November 2010. The British helicopters are out. The SAS squadron is heading towards Gereshk, an ancient town in Helmand. We're told they came into the compound from 2 directions, through a gate and through a hole that had been blown in the wall. And once in, they headed to the house. People here say that everybody in the house was brought into the courtyard and the Special Forces troops bound all the men's hands. And then one man was taken back inside and killed. The man shot after surrendering to the SAS squadron was Haji Ibrahim, a former district governor who'd worked alongside the British.
They handcuffed us and stood us against the wall. They handcuffed Haji Ibrahim too. They told Haji Ibrahim to go into the room because they wanted to search it. They told Haji Ibrahim to lift up the curtain. When he entered the room, there were shots. So we knew Haji Ibrahim has been killed.
It was Haji Ibrahim's son who found his body.
His hands were tied at the front. He had been killed. They had shot him in the corner of his eye, and later they had fired a shot at my father's chest.
Were there any weapons in that house?
No, we did not have anything like that at home, and nothing was found. A couple of nights before, they came and searched the whole house, but they did not find anything.
We have the squadron's own account of what happened after Haji Ibrahim was detained. They say the force shot and killed him when he demonstrated hostile intent by brandishing a hand grenade. We don't know if there was a grenade in the house, but there are some basic facts. Firstly, Haji Ibrahim had been detained, so he shouldn't have been able to get access to a weapon. And secondly, the weapon he's supposed to have gone for, a grenade, it's suspicious. People inside Special Forces have told us that grenades were rarely used this way in Afghanistan. we've discovered a confidential UN investigation concluded the former governor was a civilian and he was unarmed when he was killed.
This idea of a grenade being reached for or used, what do you make of that?
It's ridiculous. If you've actually shot someone in a room and then you come back and you lie about it, say he reached for a grenade and he didn't, it's a murder.
It's a murder.
It's a murder.
The former governor's death was the first of a series of suspicious killings by the SAS squadron. Before we show you the horror, you need to know the context. UK Special Forces were slipping out of control. Staff at the local hospital saw that bad things were happening in the night.
The incident that I recall was mainly kids with bite injury on the face or the upper part of the body. The story that the patient were telling us, again, was that their door were locked down and one or two dogs were released inside the house.
And releasing a dog into a home is a pretty blunt tool, isn't it? And what you saw here was children with very bad bite marks.
Yeah. What we saw and what we confirmed was these dog bites, and this is the story that the patient were referring to us. I'm sure that somebody's having trouble sleeping in the night, if they still have some conscience.
Dogs used by Australian Special Forces were also savaging civilians.
I don't know if they're trained to kill them. Oftentimes, like, they're going for the throat. Just witnessing events where you're just seeing a dog tear up an old man. And the guy's not a risk. He's not Taliban. He's just kind of standing there.
There'd been a more fundamental shift. These were supposed to be kill or capture raids. But some coalition troops were frustrated at how quickly suspects were released. We've been told they stopped trying to capture them alive.
It was definitely kill preferred. I don't recall anyone really showing any interest in capturing people.
Why would they favour kill rather than capture?
I heard people say, why are we even going out and capturing these people? Like, we should either just confirm that they're the person we're going after and kill them on the spot, or not go out at all because we're risking our lives for nothing here.
Military insiders have told us that British SAS squadrons competed to get the most kills. The number of deaths were recorded so they could keep score. And alongside the brutality was a flawed intelligence system which sent kill squads into the night on the flimsiest of evidence.
My impression was the intelligence was not of a high enough standard to go and kill people.
This man was in the room when targets were selected for coalition raids. He doesn't want his face shown.
The stakes were extremely high, and I certainly felt that we didn't have enough information to make those decisions.
How easy would it be for an innocent person to end up on that targeting list and then be killed?
There were mistakes at every single level, serious mistakes, serious organizational mistakes. The scope for misidentification was so high in Afghanistan because we didn't understand the villages, we didn't understand the tribes, and therefore the sausage machine that is producing these names is going to make tons and tons and tons of mistakes.
A lot of the information was false because we paid for it. So what do you think was a way to get back on your enemy tribe and save their Taliban?
The intelligence might have been weak, but the targets were now real. And special forces were sent out to get them.
Sometimes there were photos, but usually it was just no photo. There'd be a description such as 40 to 50 years old, short hair, fist-length beard, wears Afghani clothes. And you're like, you may as well have put a stick figure up and said, this is who the person is.
But you're going out to potentially kill them, and that's the description.
So you've got zero information about what they look like, other than everyone else that's out there.
This was the world of the SAS squadron we're investigating, a world where normal rules had fallen away. This is how Australian Special Forces detained people on raids. They are searched and restrained so they don't pose a threat. It was also standard procedure for the British SAS. But the UK military reports we've obtained show the SAS squadron repeatedly killed people after they'd been detained. Like the case of the former governor shot after surrendering.
In report after report, Special Forces claimed they sent a detainee back into the building to help with the search. The detainee was then shot after supposedly grabbing a weapon.
In January 2011, the SAS squadron killed another man who'd surrendered. Their official account says he was sent to search a building. They claimed he reached behind a mattress, pulled out a hand grenade, and attempted to throw it. Three weeks later, the SAS squadron killed another detainee. They claimed they sent him back inside, and when he emerged, he was shot and killed. One case is unusual, but to have repeated killings of people who have already surrendered is highly suspicious.
Impossible. If the person was so negligent, you'd be getting rid of the Special Forces guy. You'd be saying, you allowed someone to grab a grenade behind the curtain. You don't deserve to be the Special Forces. You could have got everybody killed.
So to see it time and again, how does that make you feel?
It's clearly an orchestrated campaign of murders.
Some in the British military were worried too. A senior officer who worked at Special Forces headquarters has agreed to talk to us. His words are spoken by an actor.
There was real concern about reports coming out of Afghanistan. Too many people were being killed on night raids, and the explanations didn't make sense. Once somebody's detained, they shouldn't end up dead. For this to happen over and over again was causing alarm at HQ. It was clear at the time that something was wrong.
Panorama first reported on SAS death squads in 2019. One of the cases we looked at back then has become the centre of a long-running legal battle about whether the British government investigated the deaths properly. And that has given us access to more extraordinary documents from inside Special Forces. Like this statement written by an officer. It describes how a member of the SAS squadron we're investigating had admitted they were murdering detainees.
It was also indicated that fighting-age males were being executed on target inside compounds using a variety of methods after they had been restrained. In one case, it was mentioned a pillow was put over the head of an individual being killed with a pistol.
But we've located more villages that were raided by the SAS squadron. The unit came here to Nad Ali on the 7th of February 2011 to look for a Taliban commander. Their account says they came under fire first. The SAS killed 9 people. This is the first time anyone has spoken to the witnesses here.
انګریزان په دغه باندې راغلي دي دا دلته وویشتئ هلته یې ګیټ وویشتئ سرای ته هم راغله دفترې وویشتئ دا تنکیل وو زه راویستلم باره سترګې راسه وتړي ور دورې کالي راسه وکړه کمیس یې راسه وکړئ کمیس چې وکړئ بعد هغه بس یې کنداغ سره وښوره ګزار یې کړم چې ګزار یې کړم د ګزار سره بله نه بس بیا ساده شوی وم یو وخت چې په حال کښې سور لغړ پروت یم بیخي د خدای انګریزیان په دا سرای کې دي.
Most Afghan farms here have a guest room. The night of the raid, there were 9 people sleeping in Habibulah's. He says they were all civilians, including his 2 sons.
Oh, دا مرمۍ دي په دغه ځای کې باندې پروت و دا دلته ویشتلی دي.
So these are the bullet holes?
دا ګوره دا مرمۍ مشر زوی مې هلته پروت و هلته د کوټې په پای کې چې پروت و دغه مرمۍ دی.
The height of the bullet marks do suggest his sons were lying down when they were shot. We took photos of multiple clusters close to the floor.
خلیفه یاد کړم زه دا کوټې ته نشم راتلی زموږ دغه مشران و دغه ځوانان دغه و چې
The SAS say they recovered 3 guns, but 9 people in the guest room were shot dead. That's suspicious because British troops are only supposed to kill people if they're posing an imminent threat. So the military expect there to be roughly the same number of weapons as dead. One off. We've discovered the SAS squadron killed more people in a guest room 2 days later, in the village of Khwaja Dad in northern Helmand. This is a hard place to reach. Once again, we're the first people to come here to investigate what happened in 2011.
This case has both of the key hallmarks of night raids that become kill Firstly, there are far more people left dead than weapons claimed to be recovered. And secondly, a person is taken back inside the property and killed.
The SAS came here looking for the head of a bomb-making network.
ما که با بیدار شدیم صدای فیر شنیدیم که به داخل اتاق فیر شد. بسیار یک حالتی وحشتناک بود که ما بسیار ترس می‌خوردیم که چی کار شده با ما.
In their account, the SAS say they were fired on first. 5 members of the household were staying in Dowd's guest room that night, including 2 of his brothers. 2 visitors were staying as well. All 7 were shot dead in the same room.
به داخل امضی اتاق خواب بودن، همه همینجا بودن. این مرمی هم اینجا بخورده بود، به سر کمره ازم بود، به دل و دوانم بخورده بود.
Dowd says the bullets killed his 15-year-old brother as he came to the door.
همون یک برار به همین چه شهید چی بود، دیگر ها باز به داخل به هر کلامی به همون جایی که خواب بودن، هر کلامی به همون جا خوش شهید شدن.
Dowd says he didn't know the 2 guests. It's a common Afghan practice to offer travellers a room. He then tells us that after the 2 men were killed, he discovered they may have been linked to the Taliban.
یک سکل کانه‌ای بداشتن دیگه هیچی اسلحه و هیچی تکچاخویی نداشتن. فیر هیچ انکام نداره که از اینجا فیر پاک نشده از اینجا.
Dowd lost 2 brothers in the guest room. He was about to lose another. According to the SAS's account, his 3rd brother surrendered and was then sent back into the building to move the curtains. They claim that when the man exited, he attempted to engage the force with a rifle. So he was shot and killed. But Dowd says his brother was executed.
اون به داخل امضی خانه شسته بود که پردر بالا کرد صدای فیر شد که به همین دم در رو شهید کردن همینجا داخل بود.
The squadron's account says they recovered 4 AK-47 rifles, but 8 people had been killed. Remember, British troops are only supposed to kill someone if they're posing an imminent threat. Back in London, senior officers were alarmed by the SAS squadron's reports. A memo was sent to the Director of Special Forces.
I raised 2 particular indicators that were fueling our concern. Firstly, the enemies killed in action versus weapons statistics. And secondly, the number of instances where the head of the family were being invited to lead the compound clearance and were subsequently being engaged and killed.
The family say there weren't any weapons. We can't verify if that's true.
Directly to the front, 2 guys moving right to left, behind the wall!
But we do know coalition forces have been accused of planting weapons to cover up executions. And the Australian inquiry proved their special forces were doing it.
I saw a soldier carrying 2 AK. Yeah, if somebody's been shot and killed and they're unarmed, it doesn't look great.
And if you put a weapon next to a body, then you legitimize the killing.
Exactly.
There's a door here.
Just a matter of putting them in your backpack. There was no policing of that. There was nothing to stop a weapon coming out of the armoury. There were weapons available if that's what you wanted to do. It wasn't hard.
We've spoken to people who served with the SAS squadron we're investigating, who say the unit also planted weapons, and documents show senior officers were warned.
It was implied that photos would be taken of the deceased, alongside weapons that the fighting-age male may not have had in their possession when they were killed.
The week after the guest room killings, the SAS squadron killed 3 more men. Once again, one of them was shot after surrendering. The official military report says one of the men was sent back into the building to open the curtains. He came out carrying a rifle and attempted to fire at the force. He was killed with aimed shots.
Tango 2 Bravo, we are receiving a harassing occasional fire.
A couple of days later, the SAS squadron killed another 4 people. They're the deaths we first investigated in 2019. The deaths that prompted that long-running court case in the UK. Back then, Mohammed Bang told us he saw his son being handcuffed before he was shot.
They tied his hands in front of me. If you have tied someone's hands, how can they fight?
We now have the SAS squadron's own account of the raid. Military insiders have told us it's completely implausible. It says Mohammed Bang's son was sent into a building after surrendering. He's supposedly killed after he moves behind a table and picks up an AK-47. Clearance. The SAS squadron claim he's killed after he pulls a grenade from behind the curtains. The SAS account was met with disbelief by colleagues back at base.
Is this about latest massacre?
Yeah, mate. But what must be the 10th time in the last 2 weeks? When they've sent a detainee back into the building to open the curtains, he reappeared with an AK. Then when they walked back into a different building with another detainee to open the curtains, he grabbed a grenade from behind the curtain and threw it. You couldn't make it up.
A small group of troops from the squadron were involved in the killing of Mohammed Bang's relatives. We've discovered the same men were also involved in the 2 guest room killings.
So, in just 9 days, those men killed 21 people in suspicious circumstances, and they have never been held to account.
The killing went on, and so did the same cut-and-paste explanations. On the 12th of March 2011, the SAS squadron killed 8 more people. Again, they claimed detainees were shot after grabbing weapons. On the 1st of April, another 2 men who'd surrendered were shot dead. The SAS claimed one was killed when he raised an AK-47. the other when he tried to throw a grenade at the combined forces. In total, we've identified 54 people who were killed by the SAS squadron in suspicious circumstances. And this is just one unit in one 6-month period. Our evidence suggests it wasn't just one squadron. SAS executions went on for 3 years.
The numbers are so big, it's easy to forget in the night.
This isn't just rogue troops on the ground. It is a bigger scandal than that. All of the reports, no matter how implausible, were signed off by senior SAS officers.
It is always easy to paint the rotten apple, because reputationally it's far more straightforward to handle it that way. But in my view, there is an inextricable relationship between command and commanded, and therefore when atrocities happen, each side of that coin needs to be looked at. The commanded, who may be the person who actually delivered the atrocity, but also the chain of command that sat above that person.
Our evidence shows that those at the very top of Special Forces were warned the SAS executing detainees.
One of my team, an officer, has been told that there is in effect an unofficial policy to kill wherever possible fighting-age males on target. In some instances, this has involved the deliberate killing of individuals after they have been restrained, and the subsequent fabrication of evidence to suggest a lawful killing in self-defense.
It wasn't just one warning. The allegations of war crimes were repeatedly raised with senior officers.
There appears to be a casual disregard for life, counterinsurgency principles,
and the subsequent fabrication of evidence to suggest
amongst the squadron to kill wherever possible, regardless.
Or, at worst, to put a stop to criminal behavior.
I have for some time aware of rumors that the squadron have been conducting summary executions of supposed Taliban affiliates on target in Afghanistan.
What's extraordinary is that the military police weren't told. Special Forces put crucial statements in a folder they created for anecdotal information about extrajudicial killings. It was then locked away in a restricted access classified file.
This sort of classification is meant for issues of national security. It was being used to hide evidence of war crimes.
If that's true, it's completely unacceptable. Their responsibility would be to do the opposite from hiding. Their responsibility would be to intervene and act as responsible senior people.
Is there any reason that you would hide away crucial facts about a war crime?
I can see things that might incentivize you to do so, but they would all be wrong, and so I can see no reason for doing so.
We know some senior officers didn't think the allegations had been investigated properly at the time. In 2012, there was another chance to uncover the truth. General Sir Mark Carlton Smith was appointed Director of Special Forces. But our evidence suggests he too withheld information from the Royal Military Police about the alleged executions. The following year, a member of the squadron was investigated over an alleged murder in Afghanistan. It was another opportunity for special forces to come clean. But General Carlton Smith kept quiet. It looks like he withheld crucial evidence from a murder inquiry. It would be a criminal offence for a commanding officer to withhold evidence of war crimes. General Carlton Smith was head of the British Army until he stepped down last month. He didn't respond personally to our questions. The Ministry of Defence said it can't comment on any allegations for legal reasons, but that should not be taken as acceptance of their factual accuracy. The Royal Military Police didn't get hold of the hidden evidence until 2 years later. It was part of a wider investigation into the SAS. The Ministry of Defence told us that after extensive and independent investigations, no charges were brought due to insufficient evidence. The wider investigation was closed, but insiders who worked on it have told us they were stopped from getting to the truth. They say they were ordered to drop suspects, stopped from inter-raids.
We were hitting brick walls in every direction. I believe there was pressure from above to shut down the investigation. It became increasingly clear to me that it didn't matter what evidence we were able to gather. These cases were never going to be allowed to go to court.
The Ministry of Defence says the service police will consider any allegations should new evidence come to light, but that no new evidence has been presented. The MOD continues reforms to the service justice system to ensure it remains fit for purpose. It says it will always hold UK troops to the highest standards, and that they served with courage and professionalism in Afghanistan. There's no doubt most did. But the evidence we've uncovered suggests UK Special Forces executed people who had surrendered.
Scores of people were killed. Suspected murders were covered up. Senior officers knew and didn't stop it. And the government chose to close down the one official investigation that may have got to the truth.
So many deaths. So many people left to try and rebuild. Like Haji Sadiqullah. He now lives here in Kandahar, but he used to live in the hills of Sangin in Helmand. He moved away after 8 members of his family were killed by the SAS squadron we're investigating.
When they knocked at the door, I told them I was coming. Someone shouted, and they blasted the door of our house.
Haji Sadiqullah says his son and nephew were handcuffed and then shot.
They hid the boys from me and took them to their house. They used it as an excuse to take the boys back inside. They killed my son in one room and my nephew in another.
His niece heard the shots. She lost 4 her brothers that night.
I was their only sister, and I miss their smiles and jokes so much. It was very hard. It was like our whole world had collapsed. It has been a long time, but whenever I sit alone, I cannot forget them.
In their account, the SAS squadron say the dead men were all insurgents. They were fired at and weapons were recovered.
There was no AK-47, no grenade, no machine gun, or any other weapons in our house. They just say to excuse themselves. They say that to hide their violence, to legitimize what they did. It is a complete lie. What they have said is a total lie.
Nobody has been to Haji Sadi Kullah's village to investigate. So we set off across a battle-scarred landscape. This is a Taliban stronghold, and they have many supporters here. The SAS raid started at the home of Haji Sadi Kullah's cousin. His son was one of the first to be killed.
I walked inside. My son was lying in that place. He was shot and killed there. That was the place. This was where they had shot him, and he was lying like this.
Then the SAS squadron moved next door to Haji Sadi Kullah's old house. In their own account, the SAS admit some people were killed after surrendering. They claim the detainees had somehow grabbed weapons.
So this is the courtyard where the British troops brought Haji Sadi Kullah and his family. That night they all gathered here. The women and children were moved into this room here. And then his nephew and his son were taken back into the main building. And that's where they were killed.
This is the room where Haji Sadi Kullah's son died. The bullet marks still on the wall. The scars of a deadly night raid that changed this place forever.
2 or 3 families from there, 10 families from there, they all left this village and never returned. There was such a sadness in the village because there was 8 funerals in one home. It was a great tragedy.
Coalition forces were locked in a brutal fight in Afghanistan. But it looks like some special forces units took the law into their own hands, executing detainees and committing war crimes.
I think there is overwhelming evidence that these murders occurred. And, if we don't want those things to happen again, we have to understand why they happened in the first place.
Do you think we in the UK should do what you've done in Australia?
Definitely. I think it's definitely a good thing to...
No one from UK Special Forces has been prosecuted, and there are no criminal investigations.
I think allegations of the kind that you're making are incredibly shocking, and if they are true, then they would make me deeply sad and also deeply angry.
What should happen now?
My experience is that the military finds it very difficult to look at serious failure in the chain of command.
So allegations on this level merit a public inquiry?
I would say so, yes.
Our evidence suggests terrible crimes have been covered up. Murders and executions by the SAS death squads that arrive at night.
First-hand accounts of working inside the UN and what happened when some staff spoke out. Watch The Whistleblowers, available now on BBC iPlayer.